Let's do one more problem where someone has to divide up some asset into two shares that they think are worth the same. So let's suppose that Al and Bo, spend $6 together on a pizza that happens to be half cheese and half pepperoni. Now, people might prefer one versus the other, and let's suppose that Al likes pepperoni 5 times as much as he likes cheese pizza. So, how can he divide the pizza into two shares that he values equally? So there's kind of a very boring answer here. You could actually chop the pizza right here in the middle, so everyone gets a quarter of the pizza, that's cheese. Everyone gets a quarter of the pizza that's pepperoni. You get half the cheese, you get half the pepperoni. But that's no fun. So let's kind of instead try to figure out if we can figure out a way to where we can kind of slice it where, you know, one of the two shares is just going to be all pepperoni, and then the other one might have some cheese and pepperoni. So let's first of all think about how much Al believes that each of these particular halves of the pizza are worth. So Al thinks that the pepperoni half is worth how much? Well, so when you think about this, he likes pepperoni 5 times as much as cheese. So it's a 5-to-1 ratio. So 5 out of the 5 plus 1, right? So 5 out of 6 would be kind of what he values as pepperoni. And then the overall pizza was worth $6, right? So if we're doing this, we would just get 5 divided by 6, that fraction times 6, and we would get $5. So he thinks that the half of the pizza that is pepperoni is worth $5. When it comes to the cheese pizza, Al thinks that it's worth, well, so we have a 5-to-1 ratio here. So he thinks cheese is worth kind of 1 divided by 5 plus 1, that much of the $6. So we get a 1 divided by 6 times 6. He thinks that the cheese pizza is worth $1. Okay, so clearly Al strongly prefers the pepperoni pizza over the cheese pizza. So what are we going to do here? Well, let's see if we could kind of come up with some particular cut here where maybe we get one piece that's all pepperoni and then we get another part that's going to be cheese and pepperoni. So let's try to figure out how much of this half of the pepperoni pizza would Al already think is going to be worth half of the entire pizza. So, how much of the pepperoni half is worth? Well, okay, again, so we have $6 is the entire value, so half of $6 it would be 3. Okay, so what you would do here, so we know that this pepperoni half is worth $5. So what times 5 is going to be worth 3, right? So what times $5 is going to be worth $3? Well, if we're solving here for x, we would just get 3/5. So what this is telling us is Al thinks that 3/5, so if we cut up this pepperoni into 5 slices, he would think that 3 of those is going to be worth half of the value of the overall pizza, so $3. And he also thinks that 2/5 of the pepperoni half, the remaining part of the pepperoni half, and all of the cheese together would also be worth $3. So if Al were to divide things up again, so that he would get either these, 3/5 of the pepperoni part or all of the cheese and 2/5 of the pepperoni part, Al is okay either way because he would think that these shares are each going to be worth $3.